Okay, so in today's lecture, we're continuing to talk about forces and Newton's laws. So just as a reminder, we have Newton's first law, which says if there's no net force acting on a given object, then it'll just keep moving along at a constant speed or remain at rest if it's at rest. So that's if the sum of the forces is zero, then the acceleration is zero. We have Newton's second law, which tells us what happens if we do have a net non-zero force on an object, then that causes the object to accelerate. And the mass is the constant of proportionality there, so F equals ma. And then Newton's third law tells us that for every force that object A exerts on object B, then object B exerts an equal and opposite force back on object A. So we just introduced forces last time, so we haven't learned about too many types of forces, but some common types of forces are weight. So gravity exerts a force on objects, and the magnitude of the gravitational force when we're near Earth's surface is mg, and it points downwards. Two other types of forces that we'll commonly see are the tension force. So if you have a rope or a wire or anything that can pull on something, the force that it pulls with we call tension. And generally, for a given rope, the tension in the rope can be completely variable depending on what's hanging from it, how much you're pulling on it. We also have the normal force. That's not something that we talked about as much in the last lecture, but the normal force is just more of a pushing force. So like if you have a table and then you have an object sitting on the table, gravity is acting on it, pointing downwards, but it's not accelerating downwards, and the reason it's not accelerating downwards is because there's an upward force pushing on it from the table, and we call that the normal force. The reason that it's called the normal force is because it refers specifically to a force that's perpendicular to the plane of contact between two objects. So if you think of the plane where this box and the table meet, it's like a flat plane. The normal force is always going to be perpendicular to that. So normal is another word for perpendicular.